What's going on, beautiful people? It's your boy, Mr. Meyer, with the fire, here to share ideas and take our vibe higher. Weird camera angle. I don't want y'all to think I'm talking down on you quite literally, but this is where I'm at. So that being said, today is a very special video. We're talking about Saturn. We're talking about Father Time, Kronos, the gatekeeper. Before we go any further, I just want to tell you, as above, so below. Anything that happens anywhere mirrors the planes above and below, and it's all connected. So the thing about Saturn, physically speaking, is going to show you how it manifests on a spiritual level, an emotional level, and a mental level. So let's talk about it. Saturn is the 6th planet from the sun, and this was considered to be the final wandering star by the ancients. This planet is the last planet you can see without the aid of the telescope. That's why we called it the final wandering star. Saturn also has a giant ring around it. These two qualities literally will show you that Saturn's energy, its archetype, its influence is boundaries, limits, restrictions, structures, orders. So Saturn is all about how shit's built. It's about what's real. Think about how if we could all go outside, most of us with decent vision could go outside and point at Saturn and say, hey, do you see this star? Do you see that light? It's right there, right? Wasn't that like right there 2 years ago? Wasn't that over there some years ago? Did that shit move? We could all be like, yeah, I saw it there. Yet we were looking at it the other day together. The thing about Saturn is this really governs reality. Reality is based on agreement. And that's something to think about. So whenever you look at Saturn within your natal chart, you need to understand through its sign, through its house position, through its aspects to other planets, and through the ruling planet of Saturn's sign in your chart, you're going to notice that these are going to be how you perceive reality, how you perceive limitations, where you receive limitation, and above all else, a lot of people don't know this, Saturn is where you have to place boundaries to gain structure, put limits on your Saturn. Saturn will put limits on you, but you got to put some limits there too. Meet Saturn halfway, okay? In the realm of Saturn's control within your own life, you're called to be either responsible or be neglectful. Saturn doesn't necessarily give rewards. You get what you pay for. You put in the work and you'll get the repercussions of your actions. So another thing to consider is Saturn literally rules karma. And a lot of people don't know what this means. It's not that deep. It's pretty simple, quite literally. Karma is cause and effect. And this is a Hermetic principle. Every action that happens in life will have an equal and an opposite reaction. I think we're on the same page, but think about this, y'all. When you don't know the cause, it doesn't make a difference on the effect. Things happen, and everything in this world is in balance in some way, shape, or form. Whether you believe this or not, think about the binary code that runs a computer. Ones and zeros. Everything is or it isn't. And that's the way this world works, objectively speaking. Just because you don't understand shit doesn't mean that things are fucked up. You gotta really think about what it means to have Saturn correspond to the 3rd sphere of the Kabbalistic tree, Binah, which governs understanding. When we talk about Saturn and its position in your life and in the world in general, this shit might not feel fair. It might not make sense to you all the time. It might hurt a lot, and it may feel like it's not love. That 3rd sphere of the tree, it's past the abyss. This is the primordial force of creation. It's like pitch blackness. And that can be scary to some. But on the other note, when you know that you're in the womb of the dark goddess who loves you unconditionally, maybe through tough love, you got not shit to fear. I promise you. I promise you. So what I need you to understand is that yes, in the sign house aspects and ruling planet of your natal Saturn, you're called to be either responsible or neglectful. But you need to also understand that not only will this correspond to how you see your reality, how you're able to gain structure within it, you'll see Saturn directly correspond to what you're afraid of, your fears. Some way, shape, or form, this is because Saturn structures your consciousness. Saturn structures your consciousness within your natal chart. I don't have this, but I want to use an example just to help you guys see this as I say it. Let's assume someone has Saturn and Leo in the 9th house. Okay. So this being said, Leo energy is all about creative self-actualization. It's all about seeing yourself, building an ego, a sun. That's the ruling planet. In the 9th house is really all about understanding and building trust with spirit. It's about spirituality. It's about taking our ideas, the 3rd house, and then putting it into structure cosmologically. This is about faith and belief. So what you need to understand about a person with Saturn and Leo in the 9th house is that their life is built for them to be able to express themselves fully and unencumbered. That's Leo. for them to be self-aware, self-accepting, self-loving, have good posture, be strong, be loving, have warmth and charisma, and be happy. That's what Leo is about, quite literally. The funny thing about Leo is that this is the detriment of Saturn. Saturn doesn't like to be here. Its home is on Aquarius, Cancer energy. So that being said, Leo Saturn people may feel kind of rejected when they try to be themselves. They might have a lot of experience from their family or their parents or their social conditioning, aka society, Saturn, that really rejects who they are, or simply put, the way that they're perceiving reality makes them so self-aware that when they take actions, they have no ability other than to feel rejected or not fully self-accepted by others. You get what I'm saying? So this being said, Saturn would indicate that these people with Saturn and Leo have to work on self-assurance, self-love, self-confidence, self-expression, creativity. Because consequently, they may have experienced a lot of boundaries and limits around this shit. They also have a structure of their mind with that ninth house example, somebody who wants to be this and that with God, in spirit, and also have a lot of faith. Consequently, these ninth house Saturn people, or maybe even Saturn Sag people, might have had a lot of religious trauma or been taught what to believe by people who don't necessarily believe it. They may have had a lot of weird experiences with the universe by taking leaps of faith and not always being caught. And this all reflects the quest of building true cosmological understanding, faith, and connection with the universe. It's not going to just be handed to these people. They're going to have to work on building it. So Saturn is about building. It's about getting structure. And you need to know Saturn governs, again, all the finite energies and archetypes in this world. Time being the most important one. Saturn is the reaper, the ripper. It's going to take you back when it's time. You need to know Saturn ain't just like fine wine if you're doing the work. Saturn doesn't give anything for free. So if you don't make the realization that freedom comes through responsibility and not from responsibility, Saturn won't give you shit besides pain, suffering, and then make other people be responsible for you. Saturn is about how you build your freedom by building structure in your life. And if you don't do this, just don't complain about the shit that you created for yourself. That's real. But you got to know it takes time, dude. This being further away from the sun than all the other planets, it takes Saturn about 28 to 30 years to go through the whole zodiac. So it's going to spend about 2 to 3 years in each sign. You turn around 28, 29, or 30, you're going to have what's called that Saturn return, where Saturn comes right back to its natal position, and you basically get to see the repercussions of your effort and what you've been building. And also, some of those restrictions and limits that get imposed upon you might get lessened up a little bit. The common theme of a Saturn return is you get to see what you haven't been doing. You got to be patient. You got to be honest. You got to be willing to face reality for what it is, rather than putting your own subjective biases and interpretations on it. You have to be able to filter yourself from the world. Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius, in detriment in Cancer, Leo, exalts in Libra, and it falls in Aries. And there's a lot of significance to these tiny little details I shared. I could talk you off about it. The simple point I'm trying to make through what I just said is don't take shit personally in life at all. You got to understand that nothing is really promised to you besides death. That sounds really cold and dry. I'm speaking from Saturn. Life only promises you death and really nothing else. So if you understand that, you'll be able to start working on the things that you desire and start being responsible enough to build these into your life for the long term. Because Saturn is the structure of your life, the structure of your consciousness. And you got to understand, when you've built a structure, it's going to stand the test of time. So while you look at your Saturn and it's going to hurt and it's going to need work and it's going to need discipline, you just need to understand, keyword understand, that where you find Saturn in the chart, this is what's meant for you. Above all else, this is what's meant for you. Saturn is your main quest in the game. Saturn is that main quest because it takes time. You got a lot of sub-quests under that quest, and you got to not get discouraged. And I think if you were to start from the end of the game and look back, you'd realize if the game ended as fast as you wanted it to, you'd be disappointed. Ruling planet that sign that house, this is where things are going to be intended to be permanent in your life. And when you understand what the prize is, where the goalpost is, what the idea of the main quest is, it's going to be a lot easier and a lot more exciting for you to go through the bullshit. On my Saturn Taurus, I know it feels like a lot of bullshit. I didn't come here to talk about me. I came here to talk about everybody and y'all. But it's like, shit, if you got Saturn in Taurus or you got Saturn in Libra, ruled by Venus, you may feel like the universe withholds love from you. And sometimes it does through the people that you interact with. But then you have to really ask yourself, what am I choosing? Am I changing this or am I just accepting it? Am I being responsible or am I being negligent? I'll remind you one more time before I sign off, y'all. Saturn is where you see reality. It's how you gain structure within it. It's going to be where you receive limitations and boundaries, but you also need to be placing these here to gain that structure. I love you guys so much. You should be hitting that like button right now. Drop in that comment. Tap in with your boy. I appreciate all the love and the support. Let me know what you guys want to see in future videos, and we'll keep this ball rolling. Blessed be, blessed we.